Yeah, a little bit about Cityworks. We've been in business since 1996. Got our start in water and wastewater utilities, and out of that grew into what you see here on the screen. And basically, what we provide today is a solution for managing complex networks of assets, and this ranges, of course, from water, public works, and whatnot, into airports, into electric and gas utilities. We have a permitting solution that I'll talk about here in a moment that stretches across planning and community development. We also have customers that use it for buildings and facilities and look at assets within those facilities as well. And similar to Dan, an e-builder, the customers that we serve, there's a lot of intersection between them. Of course, our main have been local government, water, wastewater, but in all of these areas, you'll find Cityworks providing the capabilities for asset management, for inspections, for tests, test tracking, permits, all of that. And that's because of the nature of Cityworks, the configurable nature of Cityworks, that it can be applied across the board. And it's not just a sort of focused solution on any one type of asset, but rather very similar to other platforms that you may use, applies across the board. So if you think of Cityworks, kind of like step back and imagine it as these two halves, where the one half is this asset management system that can take input from the public or even IoT sensors. More recently, that's what we've been getting into. And with Trimble, in fact, we do have an IoT solution for water and wastewater that we have deployed, named the System of Action, that I encourage you to check out on our website. But from there, the workflow can take the journey of going into an investigation or inspection, where those results can then come into a work order to track any repairs that need to happen. And then finally, we learn from what happens through analysis and reporting and geographic analysis and reporting. So it gives us a very deliberate and purpose view of where we ought to spend, capital dollars that need to take place. The other half of the solution, and these are totally integrated, fully integrated, but they can operate on their own as well, is our permitting solution, which a great many organizations use, and it's the typical permitting system that you would expect to find in a building department for building out subdivisions or building out remodels on homes, and tracking that permit application from the front end by the contractor or the citizen, all the way through issuing the permit to inspection, and then of course doing analysis. And what's great about our permitting solution is it can actually work for utilities as well, because it's agnostic of and has an agnostic workflow engine that can be tailored and configured. So we find utilities leveraging that, and together, we can serve a great many of the needs of our customers. And one of the main differentiators of our system is this concept of GIS-centric. When we came into the market, we saw that a lot of these organizations, utilities, local governments, and whatnot, were investing lots of effort into capturing their assets in GIS and in Esri GIS. And at the time, the systems were managing those assets separately in a non-spatial tabular database. And we thought, well, there's probably a better way to do this here, and to leverage the assets directly from GIS. And that way they're maintained in one place, captured in one place, updated in one place. And this is what launched the idea of Cityworks, is let's just leverage those assets and build work management permitting on top of that. And we took it one step further over the course of time and felt like, well, Cityworks does quite a bit for these organizations, but so does Esri. Let's look at leveraging other areas of their platform and incorporate it as sort of first-class citizens within the Cityworks platform. So for example, in the middle there, you see ArcGIS Hub, and that serves as our destination portal for creating a two-way engagement with citizens and with contractors on engaging with the organization. We also have an integration and a tie-in with ArcGIS Indoors in the bottom right there, where we can now see facilities in this great sort of indoor view, 2D view that will eventually become a 3D view. And so visualizing your assets in that dimension is very, very helpful. We leverage Esri's insights for ArcGIS for business analytics and whatnot, and repurpose that named Cityworks Analytics to be able to gain valuable insight into what it is you're doing and where you need to apply. And of course, our mobile solutions tie very, very nicely with Esri's mobile solutions, and you can leverage ours or leverage theirs or leverage both even to do the work that you need. And very similar to the Esri platform, we support 3 fundamental systems. So it's not just software that you're getting, but you're getting a platform that gives you tools to engage with internally across all the profiles of users that you have, but also more widely with the citizens and the contractors that are out there. And all of that then gets stored in an open system of record that, when combined with Esri, provides a total view of everything that's happening. That platform can then integrate with other solutions because both are built on a stack of APIs that are accessible and available. And then, of course, we provide a system of insight that you can see what's happening, and you can look at trends, you can look at emerging hotspots, you can look at spots where you have improved and those issues are going away. And the geographic view really gives power to that. And so for us, it's all about creating responsive organizations. I love what Dan said about you guys. We're just as passionate. Those of you that are on the call that use Cityworks, that to be the case. But for us, it's all about this. It's about providing you with not just software, but a platform that helps you be responsive, that helps you serve your customers as well in an unparalleled way and in the best way. And connecting all these departments and groups within your organization. And all of this has led to more than 750 customers leveraging Cityworks, here in North America, but across the world. And at last count, more than 80 million people are impacted by what Cityworks provides these customer organizations. So the footprint is pretty significant, and the impact and the benefits are pretty significant. And with that, I'd like to hand it over to Chad, great customer, to walk us through his part.
Hey, thanks, George. Let me share my screen here. All right, thanks. So yeah, it's kind of fun to do this today. Just really telling the kind of story of how we use eBuilder and Cityworks. But so my name's Chad Foley. I work at the City of Raleigh in the IT department, and I manage a team of 2, and we support eBuilder and Cityworks. Raleigh is the capital of North Carolina. It's called the City of Oaks. We have a lot of oak trees. About 500,000 in population. We've had Cityworks for over 10 years now, and it's pretty much what I call like a mass adoption. It's used across many different departments. And then we've had eBuilder almost 2 years now. We have it in 2 different departments, and it's kind of growing as we roll it out. We have a $502 million CIP budget. So I wanted to talk a little bit about a smart cities effort, because I think this discussion kind of folds into it in kind of an interesting way. So a couple of years ago, we hired a company called IDC to help us create a smart city strategy. If you go to raleighnc.gov, you can actually download that strategy document. And one of their recommendations was to create a smart city coordinator position. And so we did. We filled that position, and that person has several initiatives. One of them is they have an annual Smart Cities Summit. They've actually rebranded it to Connected Communities Summit last year. And at that summit, there's all kinds of like fun and shiny, high-tech things, like what I call shiny initiatives, where like drones or electric vehicles. But what I'm kind of more interested in is some of the non-shiny things that we'll talk about. So one of our shiny initiatives is but yet it's still kind of a good cost conscious effort, is we are using our traffic cameras to analyze traffic so that we can do traffic studies, whereas before we spend a lot of money hiring vendors to do traffic studies for us. So one thought was, we could use this traffic analytics and count these cars ourselves. So that's kind of an example of a shiny initiative but is actually cost savings. Another kind of fun thing we're doing is we integrated Cityworks with the Waze traffic app. So when somebody's using Waze and they report a pothole or a sign missing or something, it creates a work order right in Cityworks. And those are fun and shiny things. But we got to keep the lights on, and we got to do it budget minded. So my definition of a smart city is really simple. It's not these shiny things. It's really just about following the dollars, being able to effectively track your capital spending kind of in a standard way across different departments, and being able just to track your cost to maintain your infrastructure and assets. I mean, that to me is smart if you know these things. How much does it cost to maintain a part per year, and how can you use that information to budget for, say, if you want to have a new part? How many sewer repairs did we do last month or last year, and how much did it cost the city? It also helps us prioritize our work based on the asset conditions. If you're constantly doing lots of repairs in one area, what's going on there, and is that an older asset? So a lot is just really simply knowing where your dollars are going. So before we implemented these solutions, and I know you're definitely probably in the same boat. You're not alone in this. We had no real way or no standard on tracking capital. We did it differently across different departments. Sometimes a contractor would work on a project in one department and then another project with another department, and they were being, the finances were handled differently. One department would do it kind of including tax, and one would do handling tax separately. It was confusing the contractors. We kind of coined an acronym called YAS, yet another spreadsheet, where everything was just on different spreadsheets on people's desktops or kind of all through different shared folders, hard to find things. And then different groups were just doing things different ways. So we had no real standard way to report these capital spending up to our executive management. And so that was just a problem. And I know that's probably a very common thread. So a little bit about how we use Cityworks. So we have Cityworks is being used across 7 different departments. It's kind of become ubiquitous here at the City of Raleigh. I'd say pretty much everyone knows what Cityworks is, and any type of field work or work orders in the field is done in Cityworks, where they're tracking their labor, their equipment, and their material cost. I often joke that if the Parks Department is putting chalk on the softball field, there's a work order for that. So let's see, we have about 600 users in Cityworks currently that are active. About 100 of those are using the mobile app. We recently onboarded our wastewater treatment plant, and all their inventory is being managed in the storeroom module. There's a storeroom inventory module that we use for all our inventory. We're getting ready to use another module called Operational Insights that helps us kind of score the asset condition and the business risk with these assets based on various factors and age. We put, it all started with the Parks Department with Cityworks first, but we just kind of slowly over time just onboarded other groups within all these seven different groups. We have the convention center uses it for their preventative maintenance. We have a lot of activity with just city-owned facilities and building maintenance, trades work like HVAC, plumbing repairs, and things like that. Stormwater group is a heavy user of solid waste services. We have a lot of cross-departmental workflows where, the utility department will do a sewer repair, and then the transportation department will do the asphalt paving over top of that repair, and they will invoice each other for that. And these work orders they have are tied together. I'd say out of all the different systems we have at the city or the different software systems, Cityworks is probably, well, not probably, it is definitely the one that people like the most. It's the most user friendly. We have a lot of non-technical people using this in the field, not computer people at all. I see our solution is on premise, but there is a cloud offering, I think, as well. So here's an example of a paper inspection for a traffic signal. We're required by law to inspect the traffic lights at least once a year. And with a lot of our implementation looked like this, where we just transcribe this into Cityworks through configuration on our own ourselves. And then, you know, another example, these are just kind of various work order categories for transportation, but it's just pretty much any work in the field is dragged in Cityworks. So you can see the volume just for 2020, even because of COVID, you know, we didn't stop providing city services. I think we've got, what, 150,000 work orders so far this year across these different departments, about 89,000 inspections, and that's mostly preventative maintenance type work. And then service requests there's 323,000 of those. Those are probably due to the call center. We have a call center that if any citizen calls in about anything, they log it in Cityworks as a service request. So on to eBuilder. This is a little bit how we use eBuilder. We, like I said, we've had a little over, well, almost 2 years now, and we have about 75 users across 2 different groups, the stormwater construction group and the roadway design and construction. And we're actually have a meeting later today to talk to public utilities because we're going to try to roll it out to them in 2021. We have, let's see, currently about 51 projects in eBuilder, tracking about 67 million in cost. And what you're looking at here is a process flow or a workflow. And one of the good things about eBuilder is that you don't necessarily have to master the whole system. You don't have to know the ins and outs of all of eBuilder. You really just have to know what your role is and what your part is. So it has this like ball in court concept where based on the step in the workflow, if you're, say, the fiscal manager or fiscal analyst, you know, when that workflow gets to your step, you'll get an email, you'll log in, you'll be on that workflow step, and you'll either approve or add a document or whatever the step requires, or you can reject back to the step before. So it's really just that role in knowing what you have to do there is much easier than having to learn the whole system. And let's see. Oh, here's another workflow example. This is our IDR, Inspector Daily Report workflow. So the inspector in the start step, he fills out his IDR, and it's, you know, he's marking line items of for an active construction project for materials and quantity and cost that's being used that day. And so he'll mark that, and that's pulling from the line item from the commitment. And then he will send that to the general contractor for review, because our contractors, our vendors, have logins to eBuilder. And then, you know, they'll be able to see that, you know, that the ball's in their court on their step, and they'll approve, and it just helps them be on the same page as to what's going on in the project. And it really actually kind of keeps them to task and keeps them honest. And then they have a view into, you know, where we are with that daily report. And then at the end of the month, you know, each of these daily reports is pulling from the commitment, and it's done automatically. All the calculations are automatic, but at the end of the month, then we can, you know, cut the check to the vendor. But we do that out of our PeopleSoft system, and there's somewhat of a manual handoff at that point, but we're talking about possibly integrating that in the future. Here's just an example report. I think this is a monthly status report. I think the point here is that all the commitments and the budgets they start out as a template, like basically an Excel template that's uploaded into eBuilder. And then based on the workflow and how you set it up, all the calculations and pulling from the commitments for these daily reports to create these checks to the vendors. That's all automated. You couldn't do that in Excel. It just pulls in based on how you set it up. You can pull it in from multiple accounts from the budget, but and you can see these different commitment line items and the cost and the quantity. Here's another just example report. This is more of a all projects type report for the roadway design and construction group. These reports are all done right now. They're being done by the end users. The reporting is very intuitive. You don't really have to like do the database or anything like that. It's all kind of based on different searches and criteria, and kind of like a drag and drop. And you can pin these reports to your homepage or your make dashboards out of them, and graphs and charts and things. So we have dozens and dozens of these, but the point is the reporting is very user friendly. I'm glad to, as an IT guy, to not have to build these reports for the end users. They can do it themselves. So some of the keys to success with eBuilder implementation so far is we decided only to do new projects, not to do existing or older projects. So as a new project would come up, we'd start tracking it in eBuilder, just kind of a slow rollout. And then we have a governance model where we, each department or division has one or two power users, and we really try to give them, more privileges and administrative rights to just kind of empower them and allow them to manage their business. Because, I don't know construction business is like these people do. So they need to be able to do whatever they need to do in the system. We have a user group that meets quarterly, and we just share ideas across different departments. Like if we're doing construction projects, it shouldn't be all that much different between a parks construction project and a stormwater construction project. We try to streamline those workflows and share them kind of across different groups. So we try to standardize, and where we can't standardize on a workflow, we could have if it's parks, go into this workflow branch. If it's stormwater, go into this workflow branch. We also have office hours every other Friday where people can just stop by and get help with any kind of eBuilder questions. And then we do training. We do training to the contractors and also to our internal employee staff. It was helpful to have a senior level mandate saying you will use eBuilder, because they were tired of getting just various reports up on these different construction projects in different formats. And then we have had help from our data analytics team, which is 2 people in IT that do a lot of reporting. They use Power BI, and they've been very helpful. Here's an example of one of those Power BI reports. And again, we have dozens of these as well. This is just at a quick glance, you can just see, okay, we had this many work orders. This is from Cityworks, but open by type and status, the average hydrant work order cost, the number of water main breaks per 100 miles, the water loss associated with that. So just having this data at our fingertips and having it kind of be serviceable, where a manager can just log in and look at his dashboard and know where the project is, or what state the project's in, where it is, if it's over budget, what the progress is. I mean, that really allows us to make these data-driven decisions to make what I consider a true smart city.
Hopefully what you take away from this webinar is twofold. One, you're dealing with 2 products and companies, underlying divisions within Trimble that just love working with owners, and specifically with local government owners. We're deeply passionate about this. Hopefully for those that aren't using one or either of the solutions, we'll have an opportunity to continue the dialogue. So I just want to say thank you to Chad, and I want to say thank you to everybody for giving us time out of your afternoon.